morning sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting soft golden light across the counter where Maya stood, her hands trembling as she held the white envelope. The paper felt heavy in her fingers, heavier than it should have been. She already knew what it said before she opened it. The bold red stamp across the front told her everything she needed to know. Rejected. Maya took a slow breath, trying to steady herself. The kitchen that had once felt warm and welcoming now seemed cold and empty. She could hear the clock on the wall ticking, each second stretching out longer than the last. Her heart beat in rhythm with that relentless ticking, a reminder that time was running out. Behind her she heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate footsteps that made the floorboards creak. She didn't need to turn around to know it was Marcus, her husband of 12 years. The man she had stood beside through better and worse, through sickness and health. At least she thought she had. "Well?" His voice cut through the silence like a knife. "Did you get it?" Maya slowly turned to face him, the rejection letter still clutched in her hand. Marcus stood in the doorway, his suit perfectly pressed, his tie knotted with precision. He looked every bit the successful businessman he wanted the world to see. But his eyes, those eyes that had once looked at her with love and tenderness, now held nothing but cold calculation. "No," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. "They rejected the loan application." The silence that followed felt suffocating. Maya watched as Marcus's jaw tightened, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. She had seen this expression before, over the past few months as their financial situation had crumbled. The business she had poured her heart and soul into had failed. The investments they had made together had turned sour. One by one, their assets had disappeared, leaving them with nothing but debt and broken dreams. "I can't believe this," Marcus said, his voice rising. "Do you have any idea what this means? Do you?" Maya felt tears prickling at the corners of her eyes, but she fought them back. She had cried so many times over the past months that she felt empty inside, hollowed out by disappointment and fear. "I know, Marcus. I know what it means. But we'll figure something out. We always do." "No." The word came out flat, final. "No, Maya. There is no we anymore." Those words hit her like a physical blow. Maya stumbled backward, her hip catching the edge of the kitchen counter. "What are you talking about?" Marcus stepped into the kitchen, and for the first time, Maya noticed the suitcase behind him in the hallway. Her heart dropped into her stomach, a sick feeling spreading through her body like ice water in her veins. "I'm done," Marcus said, his voice hard and emotionless. "I married you when you were successful, when you had something to offer. But look at you now. You're bankrupt. You're a failure. I didn't sign up for this." The room seemed to spin around Maya. She reached out, gripping the counter to keep herself steady. "Marcus, please. We can work through this together. We're a team." "We're married?" "We're married," Marcus corrected, emphasizing the past tense. "I've already spoken to my lawyer. The papers will be ready next week." Maya's mother, Diane, appeared in the doorway behind Marcus, her face etched with concern. She had been staying with them for the past month, helping out however she could. "Marcus, you can't be serious. This is your wife. Your partner." Marcus didn't even look at Diane. His eyes remained fixed on Maya, cold and unyielding. "Stay out of this, Diane. This is between me and your daughter." "She's going through a difficult time," Diane insisted, stepping into the room. "You made vows. For better or worse, remember? The worse has lasted long enough," Marcus shot back. He grabbed his suitcase and turned toward the door. "I'm leaving. My lawyer will be in touch." Maya found her voice, though it came out strangled and broken. "So that's it? 12 years and you're just walking away?" Marcus paused at the door, his hand on the handle. For a moment, just a brief moment, Maya thought she saw something flicker in his expression. Regret, perhaps. Doubt. But then his face hardened again and he pulled the door open. "Goodbye, Maya," he said without looking back. "Good luck with your bankruptcy." The door slammed shut with such force that the pictures on the wall rattled. Maya stood frozen, the rejection letter still in her hand, watching through the window as Marcus loaded his suitcase into his car. A woman sat in the passenger seat, someone Maya didn't recognize. The truth hit her then, sharp and painful. This wasn't just about the money. Marcus had already moved on. He had probably been planning this for weeks, maybe months. The car pulled away, disappearing down the tree-lined street, and Maya finally let herself collapse. She sank to the floor, her back against the kitchen cabinet, and the tears she had been holding back came flooding out. Great, heaving sobs that shook her entire body. Diane was beside her in an instant, wrapping her arms around her daughter and holding her close. "Shh, baby. Let it out. Just let it all out." They sat there on the kitchen floor for what felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes. Maya cried until she had no tears left, until she felt empty and exhausted and utterly defeated. Everything she had worked for, everything she had believed in, had crumbled to dust. "What am I going to do, Mom?" Maya finally whispered. "I have nothing. No business, no money, no husband. I'm completely alone." "You're not alone," Diane said firmly, pulling back to look Maya in the eyes. "You have me. You have always had me. And you're stronger than you think, Maya. You're going to get through this." Maya shook her head. "I don't feel strong. I feel broken. Broken things can be mended," Diane said softly. She helped Maya to her feet and guided her to a chair at the kitchen table. "Now I need to tell you something. I received a call this morning while you were at the bank." Maya looked up at her mother, confused. "A call?" Diane nodded, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a folded piece of paper. It was from a lawyer. "Your Aunt Patricia passed away last week." Maya felt a fresh wave of sadness wash over her. Aunt Patricia had been her father's sister, a woman who had never married, never had children of her own. She had lived a quiet life in upstate New York, in a beautiful old house filled with books and art and memories. Maya had visited her as a child, spending summers running through the gardens and listening to Patricia's stories. "I didn't even know she was sick," Maya said quietly. "It was sudden," Diane explained. "But Maya, there's more. Patricia left you something in her will." Maya barely registered the words. What did it matter? What could Aunt Patricia have possibly left her that would make any difference now? Diane unfolded the paper and placed it on the table in front of Maya. "She left you everything, sweetheart. The house, her savings, her investments. According to the lawyer, it's worth approximately $3 million. The words hung in the air, impossible and surreal. Maya stared at the paper, at the numbers written there in black and white. But they didn't make sense. They couldn't be real. "$3 million? Maya repeated, her voice hollow. "$3 million, Diane confirmed. "Patricia was more successful than any of us knew. She invested wisely over the years, and she wanted you to have it all. The lawyer said she had updated her will just 6 months ago. She specifically mentioned that she wanted to ensure you would be taken care of." Maya sat in stunned silence, her mind struggling to process this information. Just hours ago, she had been bankrupt, abandoned, with nowhere to turn. And now, suddenly, she was wealthy beyond her wildest dreams. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "Marcus left me because I had nothing. He walked out that door thinking I was penniless and alone. And he'll never know the truth," Diane said, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Unless you tell him." Maya looked down at the rejection letter still clutched in her hand, the bold red rejected stamp glaring up at her. Then she looked at the lawyer's letter, at the fortune that had fallen into her lap just when she needed it most. The irony was almost too much to bear. "I won't tell him," Maya said slowly, her voice growing stronger. "He made his choice. He chose to abandon me when I was at my lowest. He doesn't deserve to know about this." Diane squeezed her daughter's hand. "What will you do now?" Maya took a deep breath, feeling something shift inside her. The pain was still there, raw and real, but beneath it, she felt something else beginning to emerge. Something that felt like hope, like possibility, like the first light of dawn after a long, dark night. "I'm going to rebuild," Maya said. "Not my old business, not my old life. Something new. Something better. Something that's truly mine." She stood up, walked to the trash can, and dropped the rejection letter inside. It landed with a soft thud, and Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "Marcus thought he was leaving me with nothing," Maya continued, turning to face her mother. "But he was wrong. I have my strength. I have my dignity. I have you. And now, thanks to Aunt Patricia, I have a second chance." Outside, the sun climbed higher in the sky, its warm light filling the kitchen with golden radiance. Maya stood in that light, feeling it wash over her like a blessing. And for the first time in months, she allowed herself to smile. The man who had promised to love her through better or worse had failed her. But in his absence, Maya was discovering something far more valuable. She didn't need him. She had never needed him. Everything she required to succeed, to thrive, to build a beautiful life, had been inside her all along. And somewhere, Maya liked to think, Aunt Patricia was smiling too.